Today we'll be talking about the basics of constructing an APA reference list. You'll include this reference list at the end of your papers and projects in order to give credit to the sources that you've used. We'll get started by taking a look at a few examples. First, we'll look at what your reference entry would look like if you had used a book. We start off with the author's last name followed by their first initial. If we know the author's middle name, we would include that initial as well. If the book you've used has two authors, that first author's name is followed by a comma and then the ampersand. Then we write the second author's name, again written last name, first initial. Next we have the year of publication. It should be in parentheses and followed by a period. After the date, we write the title of the book and italicize it. Now the title follows a somewhat unusual capitalization pattern. You capitalize the first word of the title, the first word of the subtitle, or the first word after a colon, and any proper nouns. That's it. We don't capitalize the other major words in the title. Here that would be words like making, turning, or points. It's a good idea to get familiar with this capitalization pattern because it's used for most titles in APA references. The book title is then followed by a period. Finally, we include the information about the book's publisher. So here we have the city followed by a comma, then the abbreviation for the state followed by a colon. Just like if you were addressing a letter, you shouldn't include periods in the state abbreviation. Finally, we write the name of the publisher and end the reference with a period. That's the basic format for citing a book in APA style. There are different variations on this format for book chapters, edited books, second editions. I could go on, but this is a good starting point. Next, let's take a look at the reference entry for a journal article. Just like the book, we start off with the author's names and the year of publication. Then we write the title of the article. This follows the same unusual capitalization pattern that the book title did. So we capitalize the first word of the title, the first word of the subtitle or any word after a colon, and proper nouns. The title of the article is again followed by a period. After the article title, we include the information about the journal that the article was published in. So we start off with the title of the journal, followed by a comma. Notice that this follows traditional title capitalization rules, so all major words should be capitalized for journal titles. Like the book title, the journal title should also be italicized. Generally, in APA style, longer works like books and journals are italicized in the reference list. Next is the volume and issue number, followed by a comma. It's really important to include both the volume and the issue number to help your reader locate the source that you've used. The volume number should be italicized, but not the issue number. This is followed by the start page and end page of the article. You don't need to write page, P period, or PG period, just the numbers followed by a period. Finally, we include the DOI for the article. There is no period after the DOI. This format is the same whether you use a print copy of the article or find the article online in a library database. In your reference list, if you have a book you want to cite, you would follow the pattern at the top, and if you had a journal article you wanted to cite, you would follow the pattern at the bottom. Finally, let's take a look at a reference for a newspaper article found online. Online newspapers follow a similar format to journal articles. We've got the author, the publication date, the title of the article, notice again the unusual capitalization, and then the title of the newspaper. Like the title of a journal, it should be italicized and all the major words are capitalized. So there are two big differences between the reference for a journal article and for a newspaper. First, for a newspaper article, you include the date of publication in addition to the year. That's in part because newspapers don't typically have volume or issue numbers. And instead of the DOI, you include retrieved from and the URL for the newspaper's homepage. If you use a digital copy of the article, you should link to the newspaper's homepage even if you found the article in a library database. This was just a brief introduction to a few APA reference basics. In general, when you're writing your reference list, remember to always include the author's last name and first initial, to check how the title is capitalized, remembering that books, chapters, articles, and web pages all follow that unusual capitalization pattern. Remember to double check your punctuation, making sure you have all of your required periods, commas, and colons. And finally, make sure you aren't missing any important information that would help your reader locate the source that you used. When you start constructing your reference list, you'll run into different types of sources and variations on the source types we just looked at. So when you have questions, these resources are a great help for all things related to APA style.